They said, "No pets allowed." Karen from the HOA said she was just following rules. But then my talking parrot started repeating things I never said. And what he exposed, let's just say, Karen had a lot to hide. They tried to silence me. But my parrot? He aired the HOA's dirty secrets louder than any lawyer could. Let's kick off Chapter 1. The new neighbor with a loud pet. Funny, warm, and just the right amount of suspense to set up Karen's downfall. When I moved into Maplewood Estates, I was just looking for peace. A small home, a safe neighborhood, and a fresh start after a messy breakup. It was a quiet place. The kind of HOA where everyone's grass was the same height and trash bins disappeared from sight within 10 minutes of pickup. I had only one unusual companion, Buddy, my African gray parrot. Now, Buddy was no ordinary bird. He talked, a lot, and not just hello and pretty bird. He could imitate voices, mimic ringtones, and hold a full-on argument with himself if I left the room. Buddy had been with me since college. He had seen me through heartbreaks, layoffs, panic attacks, and was, without question, my emotional anchor. When I signed the HOA agreement, I made sure to double-check the pet policy. No cats or dogs without board approval. No mention of birds. So I figured we were fine. The first week went by quietly. I unpacked, Buddy settled in. He found a sunny spot near the window and started practicing new words he had picked up from TV. "You are not the father. Order in the court. And unfortunately, I need a drink." Then came Karen. She lived across the street. Short bob haircut, clipboard always in hand, and a way of looking at you like you were a walking violation. The first time she saw Buddy in the window, she narrowed her eyes and muttered something under her breath. I waved. She did not wave back. The next day, she rang my doorbell, uninvited. "Hi, just letting you know pets are not allowed in the community." I smiled politely. "Oh, the HOA rules said no dogs or cats. Buddy's a parrot." Her smile vanished. "Pets are pets, and that thing makes noise." I held my ground. "He talks. That's what parrots do." From inside, Buddy shouted, "You're not the boss of me." I swear her eye twitched. She left without saying another word. But I knew this was only the beginning. And Buddy, he had no idea he was about to become the HOA's biggest problem. 3 days after our doorstep encounter, I received my first friendly reminder from the HOA. Slipped neatly into my mailbox, no stamp, no envelope. Just folded paper with bold letters. Residents are reminded to maintain quiet environments. Loud pets may be subject to removal per community noise policy. No name, no signature, but I knew exactly who sent it. That afternoon, I was on a video call in the kitchen when I heard Buddy shout from the living room, "Karen, put down the wine." Then, "That's not your husband." I froze. "What did you just say?" I asked, walking into the room. Buddy just looked at me with his head tilted, completely innocent. "You didn't hear it from me," he chirped. I stared out the window across the street. Karen's blinds twitched. "Oh no. Oh no, no, no." Later that night, I ran into one of my neighbors, Mrs. Delgado, while walking to the mailbox. She leaned in like she had a secret. "I heard your bird say Karen's cheating." I almost dropped my mail. "What?" "No, no. He just repeats things. From the TV, the radio, me yelling at my ex." She winked. "Sure, honey, but I've seen Karen. She looks nervous every time he talks." I laughed it off, but deep down, I had questions. Buddy had never said anything like that before, not unless he had heard it from somewhere. The next day, a formal HOA violation notice appeared on my door. "Your pet has become a neighborhood disturbance. Residents have complained of loud, disruptive, and inappropriate language. You have 5 days to resolve this issue or face fines." I could not believe it. I stood there staring at the paper when Buddy from inside shouted, "Karen said, burn the records." I looked up and saw Karen standing on her porch, frozen, coffee mug halfway to her lips. Her eyes met mine. She turned and walked back inside, fast. And that is when it hit me. Buddy was not repeating my conversations. He was repeating hers. 3 days later, it came. An official HOA envelope, sealed, stamped, and serious. Inside was a final warning. This is a formal demand to remove the disruptive pet from the premises within 5 business days. Failure to comply will result in daily fines, escalation to HOA legal counsel, and possible removal proceedings. They were not playing around anymore. No friendly reminder. No passive-aggressive tone. Just cold legal language. And guess who signed it? Karen B., President, Maplewood Estates HOA, of course. I put the letter down just as Buddy flapped onto the back of the couch. He looked right at me and said in perfect mimicry of Karen's raspy voice, "Shred the receipts. They'll never trace it." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Buddy puffed up his chest like he was proud of himself. "Karen said, don't tell the board. Say it was maintenance." I froze. These were not things he heard from me. I never said them. I never watched TV shows with that dialogue. That could only mean one thing. Buddy had been listening to Karen's conversations. From her porch, from open windows, maybe even while she was on speakerphone outside. Later that evening, I stood on my patio watering the plants when Karen passed by. I said nothing, but Buddy? Oh, Buddy had plans. From inside the window, he shouted, "Karen, you sneaky snake, you said to pocket the refund money." Karen stopped mid-stride. She turned, cheeks flushed, nostrils flared, eyes wild. "That bird is dangerous, it's spreading lies." I smiled sweetly. He only repeats what he hears. She stormed off, and I knew she was panicking. But she was not done, not even close. After Karen's meltdown on the sidewalk, things got quiet. Too quiet. No HOA notices, no more fake complaints. But something told me she was not giving up. She was plotting, and Buddy was just getting started. One night I was folding laundry when I heard him say, "Karen said, we'll hide it under maintenance." I stopped. He said it again in a perfect imitation of Karen's voice. Low, sneaky, and sharp. "Split the check. I get 60, you get 40. This was not just gossip, this was fraud. I grabbed my phone and started recording. Over the next 3 days, Buddy sang an entire mixtape of HOA corruption. Shred the budget draft. They'll never find the receipts. Tell the landscaper to double bill. I don't care if it's legal. I run this place. It was all in Karen's voice, and it sounded like someone had left their phone on speaker a few too many times around a very talented Parrot. I compiled the audio, added timestamps, and typed a full transcript. Then I sent it to 2 people, the HOA Vice President, an anonymous email to the local neighborhood watchdog blog. 2 days later, the HOA called an emergency board meeting. Karen tried to stop it. She claimed the bird was fabricating conversations. She said the recordings were fake. She said I was manipulating audio to get attention. But guess who had something to say at the meeting? Buddy. I brought him in his carrier, and right in the middle of Karen's speech about respecting HOA leadership, Buddy screamed, "Karen said, pay the inspector under the table." The room fell silent. Karen's mouth dropped open. One board member dropped their pen. Buddy tilted his head and followed it up with, "Tell no one, especially not Susan." Susan was the HOA treasurer. She turned beet red and gasped, "What? You told me there was no missing money." Karen tried to walk out, but it was too late. The board demanded an audit, and Buddy, he just sat there, fluffed his feathers, and whispered, "Busted." The emergency HOA meeting was packed. More residents than I had ever seen in one place. Folding chairs ran out. People stood against the walls. Everyone had heard the rumors. About the bird. About the money. About Karen. I walked in holding Buddy's carrier. He was unusually quiet, almost like he knew the spotlight was coming. Karen was already at the front. Arms crossed, lips pursed, flanked by 2 board members who looked way more nervous than she did. She began with a speech. "This meeting has been called in response to fabricated audio clips created by a disgruntled resident and their bird. Let me be clear. These accusations are false. I have served this community with integrity. I have nothing to hide." Right on cue, Buddy, calm and polite as ever, said loudly, Karen said, "Move the funds before the audit." Dead silence. One person near the back laughed, nervously. Karen's face flushed. "That was taken out of context." Buddy was not done. In Karen's voice, "The pool repairs were fake. We split the contractor fee." Gasps. The HOA treasurer stood up. "You told me that money was paid in full. I signed off on that," Karen stammered. "That bird is just repeating TV shows. You cannot believe a parrot." Someone from the crowd shouted, "Then explain how it knows your voice." Another neighbor pulled out her phone and played a clip. Buddy recorded the week prior, clearly saying, "Don't report the broken fence. We can write it off next month." In Karen's voice, again. It unraveled fast. Board members demanded a formal vote. The residents started yelling, not just about Buddy, but years of suspicious fees, hidden meetings, and weird fines. The HOA vice president finally slammed a binder shut. Until the investigation is complete, Karen B. is suspended from her position as HOA president. The room erupted, some cheering, some stunned. And Buddy? He let out a victorious whistle, flapped his wings, and said with perfect timing, "No more Karens." With Karen officially suspended, the board launched a full audit. They brought in an independent HOA compliance officer and a forensic accountant. Every dollar spent, every contract signed, and every maintenance report from the last 2 years was dragged into daylight. And what they found? Well, let's just say Buddy had been right all along. Red flags everywhere, $12,000 allocated to a pool resurfacing job that was never done. 2 separate payments to a landscaping company that did not exist. A consulting fee that conveniently matched a check written to Karen's personal account. But the smoking gun? A deleted invoice Karen had accidentally shredded. Too bad for her. Buddy had memorized the exact phrase she used before doing it. "Just shred it. They'll never find out." And it was on tape. Not just from my phone, but from a neighbor who caught it echoing through their open window while Buddy practiced at sunset. That was all the board needed. Karen was called to a disciplinary hearing. She tried to play it down. "This is a misunderstanding. Maybe someone else used my name. The bird is clearly being manipulated." But the evidence was overwhelming. Documents, witnesses, audio clips. The HOA treasurer, who once backed Karen, turned on her instantly. "You told me we had a tight budget. Meanwhile, you were cashing HOA checks?" Karen tried to storm out, again. But the board had already voted. Karen B. is permanently removed from all HOA positions, fined $8,500 in restitution, and banned from future board participation. A copy of the ruling was posted on the community bulletin. Right above it, someone had taped a photo of Buddy with the caption, "Neighborhood Watch Commander." Afterward, the HOA sent me a private apology and even thanked me for accidentally uncovering major ethical violations. They also added an official amendment to the community guidelines. Birds, including parrots, are permitted as pets. Buddy had earned his place, and then some. After the dust settled, something changed in the neighborhood. People were smiling more. The board meetings actually started on time. The fines disappeared. And Karen? She put her house up for sale within the month. But the real change? It came from Buddy. Kids in the neighborhood would wave at him from the sidewalk. "Say something, Buddy?" He'd respond. "Follow the rules, Karen." Or, "Shred no more." Someone made a meme page, @BuddyLeaks. A neighbor even 3D printed him a tiny sheriff badge. And every Saturday during patio coffee time, I'd let him perch on the railing. He'd sing Taylor Swift, quote courtroom scenes, occasionally say, "Bribery is bad," and everyone would cheer. But behind the laughs was something bigger. People started paying attention. The HOA meetings became transparent. Budgets were published. Neighbors helped neighbors. And Buddy? He reminded everyone that power can be abused, but also exposed, even by the smallest voice, because all it took was one bird who listened when no one else did. As for me, I still get anonymous thank you notes. Someone left a treat basket with a note, "For Buddy, our little feathered lawyer." He loved the dried mango, and now every time he looks at me and says, "We did good," I believe him. Because in a world where silence protects corruption, one loud parrot saved an entire community.